as she said, I'm Analia Morrow, and I'm very excited to be with you. I serve as the program director at AVAP for our higher education and nonprofit practice, and I have been fortunate enough to work with our featured presenters at Heinz Community College for several years, right, Gay? Between the platform deployment of HCM, which is HR and payroll and financials, and then into the student project, which you will hear more about. I have been lucky enough to build some wonderful friendships and partnerships with the Heinz team. I will turn it over to Elena Ray Schultz for her introduction.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Analia. My name is Elena Ray Schultz. I am a principal consultant in the organizational change management training practice at AVAP, and I have been privileged to be working with Gay and Heinz for over a year on their Workday student project, and I am excited to work and tell you a little bit about what we've been doing. And right now, I would like to introduce our main presenter, Gay Saxon.
Thank you. I'm Gay Saxon. I'm the Director of Organizational Development for Heinz Community College. I've been at Heinz for 22 years, and I also serve as the Director of Change Management for the college. And I have had the privilege to be working with Analia and Elena Ray throughout our whole Workday journey. And I'm excited to share what we've learned with everybody here. To kind of give you an idea of what we're going to go over today, we're going to be looking at the trends and challenges in higher education. Also, we're going to look at creating a culture of change and really think about how it applies to your stakeholders. We're going to look at planning for transformation and think about how we can really focus on our students as part of the change strategy, and then talk about action items for your institution as we go through the topics today. Now, Tamisha was going to be joining us, but she was not able to. So we're going to try to cover everything. If she were here, it would be a lot better, I'm sure. But I'll try to pick up her slack just a little bit. So to kind of get you, to give you a clearer understanding of what Heinz Community College is, we wanted to start by giving you an overview of Heinz. Our mission focuses on our commitment to move people forward by developing their purpose, their passion, and their profession. And we are committed to that as a college. Now, I think it's important that we let you know that Heinz is the oldest statewide system of two-year colleges in the nation. We are located in Raymond, Mississippi, and we are the largest community college in the state of Mississippi, and the third largest institute of higher learning in the state. We are also recognized as a historically Black college and university. We have 6 campuses with over 13,000 students enrolled at Heinz. And as we focus on the forces of change for the college, it's important to know that we were using a system that was over 20 years old with a lot of customizations, and we realized that our legacy solution was really not meeting visibility or our technology needs. So as we encountered a lot of major changes as we moved into Workday, and a couple of those things are that our president of 42 years retired. So we had to adjust to a new president. And also the pandemic led to a lot of changes that affected our student demographics, including moving to 100% online classes. So this kind of gives you a good picture of who we are and some of the challenges that we have faced as we have moved forward into our whole new Workday system. So keeping that in mind, we have a question for you. And you can post your response in the chat, but what are some of the challenges that you have faced or expect to face regarding change at your institution?
We would love for this time to be interactive, so please type your response with some of the answers that you have on challenges that you're facing, things that you might expect would come up at your institution or organization regarding some of the challenges with putting in a new system. Maybe it's with change leadership and response to those. Just look to see if we have any of the responses coming in yet, and we will give just a couple minutes. We just processed that. So let's see, the resistance to change to new processes. I think that's a common one that we see from our clients. Maybe that's one that you are experiencing in your organization, some resistance. Maybe people are not sure what the change entails, what will it really mean for them. All of those things can be part of that resistance to change. Thank you for posting that. Please feel free to use the QA and tell us a little bit about the challenges that you all are facing or things that you may face. And if you're shy, it's okay, you can think about it and we'll come back and give you the opportunity to ask the question or share in a few minutes as well. Give it just another couple seconds and then we will keep moving. That change resistance is really what we're talking about today, and how Heinz on their journey thought about where they would have pockets of resistance and really have been intentional about addressing those things. So we appreciate you being with us. We do have an open question. Major challenge is balancing the workload for employees between change project and day-to-day work that must continue. Yes, we definitely see that. Maybe, Gay, do you want to talk a little bit about how you all talked? I know we're focused on students, but even from the beginning, as we're putting in that student system, what do you think that has looked like as you talk with the employees about balancing this new process for students and supporting them today and for tomorrow?
Well, as people and everybody knows, the majority of our employees have been very resistant to change, but what has really helped is that communicating throughout the process and getting people involved, and not just saying here's how we're going to do it, but really getting people to buy into it by asking for their input, getting them to share their ideas, using those ideas, but also including them in the meetings and any opportunities where they can learn more about what changes are around the corner. That has really helped us.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Gay. And we had another comment that one of the challenges is coordinating a planned approach from leadership to the stakeholders. So taking that vision of the executive team, they're often the ones that have been in the weeds determining when you'll do this kind of transformation project, and taking that vision and helping the stakeholders see that vision and coordinating it. You want to talk a little bit? I know we have some topics that we'll touch on that later, but be interested now, just off the cuff, what your thoughts are there. Gay, do you want to take that on the planned approach from executives to stakeholders? I apologize.
Oh, sure. On the rumor mill part, is that what you're talking about?
Just taking that executive vision and how we take that planned approach to the stakeholders.
Well, everybody has to buy in from the top in order for it to be successful and filter down to our frontline employees that are going to be out there doing everything that we're doing. When we go start back and look at platform, I think there were so many changes that affected 100% of our employees, and there was no way around it. We were all going to do it. When we ran into those roadblocks and the people that were saying, well, I'm just not going to do it, well, we knew that wasn't an option, because literally on June the 30th, everything ended as we knew it. And on July 1, it was wide open, rolling with all the changes that we had. So we had to be sure that our executive team was focused and remained focused and positive with the changes. And that was one thing that we discovered right off. And in working with AVAP, we knew that we had to keep everybody positive about the changes, no matter what they were. We had to really speak a positive language and let them know it's going to all work out. As we have moved into change now with the student side, the team leads that are working on the student side are realizing the behind the scenes work that it takes to get this project done and completed. And I think they are even more appreciative of what happened on the platform side, which is kind of making it, I think, a little bit easier because they just cannot believe what all it takes to get this done, and they have to buy into it in order for us to be successful.
Thank you, Gay. And I'm sure that our attendees can already tell that you are certainly one of those positive voices, and we appreciate you and your voice on the project. Let's move on and talk a little bit more about some of the specifics with Heinz and this transformation project. One of the things that we discussed early in the project is that Heinz is not only, as several of you in higher education are facing, a difference in student expectations, difference in student demographics, new models of how we provide education, how we interact with students on the campus. Certainly their expectation has grown exponentially for how we interact and the type of services that students have at their fingertip. So all of those things were part of the processes that Heinz took into consideration as they thought about who are the stakeholders, what are their expectations, and what do they need to consider as we move into this large transformation. Continuing on. Let's talk about the transformation at Heinz. I love the pictures on the right. I don't know how big they are for you, but the goal of this project was to increase visibility and have a unified approach for HR, financial, payroll, and for the student project. So even from the very beginning, we said that that platform, HR, payroll, financials was first. Moving into student, everything in that first part was setting the stage for the student transformation, modernizing the system so that the staff could spend more quality time with students and provide more services that they wanted. So improve that current student experience online, but also that high quality touch in the office and create that culture of change. So let's talk a little bit about students as key stakeholders. We're going to talk about some of the activities that Gay and Elena Ray went through as they focused on their activities. You'll see on the right, we have some students that we brought in to test and provide focus group information for us as we went through the early stages of the project and continue to do so. We're interested in finding out where you are on your transformation journey. So it could be that you're just starting to plan for that transformation. Maybe you just started, or it's in progress, or maybe you're sort of like where Heinz is now. You're about to go live in the next year or so with a new system. Or maybe you are, what transformation journey? We're not there. And that's why you're on the webinar, which is fine. Any of those are fine, but we would love to hear from you. Just get a sense of where the attendees are in their journey. And I'll give you all just a few minutes to answer that poll. And then we'll talk about some of those things that Heinz did to start their transformation. All right, can we close the poll? Close the poll. Let's see what we have. Oh, interesting. So we have about 40% at the very top and the very bottom. So about 40% are planning for transformation. 40% are what? Transformation journey. I've been there, I understand. And then we have right in the middle at about 20% transformation in progress. So maybe some of the things you hear today will help support your journey, help you know that you're hearing some of the same things and maybe familiar with what Heinz has dealt with in the past. So thank you for participating in that poll. I'm going to turn it over to Elena Ray and to Gay. Elena, we're not hearing you. I see that I think you're on mute.
Thank you. Can you hear me now? All right, so as we saw in the polls, we're at various points in our journey, and the same as what we were doing with Heinz. But as we looked at it, we kind of went, where do we start? How do we create this culture of change? We really started from looking at the bigger picture. We wanted to assess what worked for Heinz and what worked in the past and what could be done better. What perspectives had been addressed in prior projects and what weren't addressed. We wanted this change, creating this culture of change to truly be impactful. We knew we could build on the successes of the Workday platform, that HCM and finance project, which has helped us to recognize the importance of change management early in the process. And now that we're in phase 2, we really needed to remember that Workday Student would also change the student experience. That means that we needed to facilitate student engagement. Phase 1 included fewer students, mostly student workers, and that allowed Heinz to understand and assess the training and technology needs of students before moving into phase 2. As we moved forward, we talked with the students about what would make things better for them. Their feedback helped to inform our communications, including how we presented the change on the website. This would be even more enhanced as we move into the further phases of this deployment. Important part here is that our primary considerations in a Workday Student project were to give students a voice and increase that student engagement throughout the implementation process and the deployment process. As we gathered that student feedback, that informed our actions. We not only built better communications for the entire community, but we also learned and worked on building specific targeted student-centered communications. In addition, we identified ways to directly include students in this process, which led us to enhancing our change agent strategy. All of the homework that we included, all of our research that we did, led us to implement a comprehensive change management strategy and plan that included our students as stakeholders while building that culture of change from the early stages. So, Gay?
Okay, so when we started working with the student side, we realized that it is very important that you understand who your stakeholders are. Heinz is very similar to a four-year college in that we have residence halls on 2 of our campuses, and we're also very active in sports, especially football and basketball. So for us, we knew that our stakeholders were our students, and this included 55% of our students that are full-time, and then the demographics of our student population is extremely diverse. In addition to those full-time, 20% of our students are 30 years old or older, and 25% are 22 to 29 years old. We also have a large online population that includes over 5,000 students participating in over 500 courses. So the changes that really affected our stakeholders include an increase in retirements resulting in our new instructors. We have new staff, and as well as the whole restructure in the leadership of the college. So when we looked at understanding who our stakeholders are, we knew that we had to really use all of this to factor in how we approached change and how we were going to communicate to all of the diverse levels of people that we had to as we were moving forward.
So Gay, could you give us some examples of how you engaged your students?
Absolutely, Elena Ray. So we kind of started with just some traditional methods. We did some focus groups, we did surveys, we had engaged student leadership groups, and even brought some in to meet one-on-one so that we could really hear straight from them. Now, we also have utilized display monitors that are in a lot of our office areas and buildings. We use our campus newsletter, which is probably one of the main communication vehicles for students right now. We have online e-paper that goes out, e-newsletter, that is called the Student Insider. And we are definitely able to use it, and hopefully people read it, the students do, but it helps us communicate change to them. And in doing that, we can also spotlight successes that have gone around. We can recognize student change leaders as we move forward, and also, add stories that show that the benefits of the change, but also let students see that students are supporting what we are doing. We have also kind of looked at, some awareness events. We, at the first days of class, have tables set up out in the courtyard so that students can come by, get some information, and really ask questions to real people to find out what's going on and how we're going to move forward.
Are there other examples of student engagements and activities that you have planned to support and enhance that culture of change, addressing the unique needs of Heinz students?
Well, I think there's always going to be, opportunities to definitely improve on what we do. But what we've tried to do is really look for innovative opportunities that encourage engagement from our diverse population of students. So one thing that we did right off is that we identified students to be change agents, which we call them our student transformers, and really are looking for them to help lead change with their peers. The student focus groups really helped us identify the successes and the concerns, but we had to have somebody that is one of our stakeholders definitely help lead the charge for change. We also have utilized Canvas as a means of giving information to students. So we have created a Canvas course that they can go in and actually see the change, read about the change, and kind of be a little bit more knowledgeable of what's going on. We also, when we think about using our stakeholders and really using our students to help us communicate change and really send out that positive message about change, then we know that we have several different groups here on campus that can help us lead the charge in that direction. So we do focus on doing some career-oriented activities, using some internships, and getting students involved in creating videos, articles, logos, whatever we can do to get them to buy in to what we're doing. Also, we look at some course-based activities with that digital design, communications, business, and try to get students to really jump in and give us, information that can help us be successful. Hopefully, we're, able to offer them extra credit to kind of participate in different things. And like I said, we utilize that Canvas course to get us in the right direction. We do have a lot of opportunities at Heinz. We're very fortunate. The picture you see there is the tech nest. We have a tech nest on at each location. And this is just where students can come in and get help with technology. So we have two groups usually in there, the people that already know what they're doing and the students that need help. So we really use our experts and our stakeholders that know what's going on. We use them to help other students learn more about change that's coming up, things that are going on, what to be looking for. And we really try to engage as many students as possible in the communication of change and in support of our changes, so that they are selling it to people that are right there beside them every day. So we really want to, use academic success services in any way possible so that we can get everybody on board. We also have student success centers on each campus, and we can utilize those opportunities as well and have people there that know exactly what's going on, have student workers there as well as employees that can really help with that learning of the change and communicating what's going on. And these are some of the pictures of when we were going through any change really, but this just kind of lets you see how we really engaged with our AVAP team and had them side by side with our students, really getting that feedback to help us learn how to communicate better and really learning the tricks of the trade out there so that we could all be on board and on the same page. So what we really had to do and continue to do is use our student affairs side and our student life offices to really help get involved. And they know the key leaders, they know the students who are going to, support what we're doing. Plus, the students that are interacting every day with each other, they're going to be the ones that are going to really help us. We found that like our honors college, also any clubs that are out there that are pretty popular, using those students to really help us with the message help a lot. So, we just kind of have to really focus on the people that can be most beneficial. Now, a couple of opportunities for us is that we definitely need to, increase our communication channels so that we are reaching everybody. Like I said earlier, not every student reads that Student Insider. So we're trying to look at other opportunities. If we, working with our marketing team, trying to get them involved to help us with any social media type outlets that can really help us there. And also we've got to focus on meeting the students where they are. And that includes like the Tech Nest or the library or any areas where they generally are. We've got to meet them there. So we are really looking to expand that so that we can really grow our relationships with our stakeholders.
Also, you had also talked a little bit about in meeting them in the dining halls, in their residence halls, really trying to get the message out everywhere, including even in the halls of the academic classrooms.
Exactly. And anytime we can get students together, we have found that the best way to get them there is to create an engaging environment. And if you have a little music and maybe a little food or a little swag for them, then they're going to be sold better off than if we just tell them to come in, we're going to have a meeting. We like to get them involved, but we really have to make it be an environment that they want to be in. So the better we can make the environment, if it's more like a party and we're going to celebrate this change, then the better the buy-in with the students.
Great words of wisdom there.
Who doesn't like a party?
Exactly.
So some things that I think that you could do at your institution to engage students throughout the transformation is, one, leverage your consultant relationship. You've got to develop a strong relationship with that team, because if we had not had a strong relationship with AVAP, we would absolutely be lost. They basically, through platform, they handheld us throughout the whole time, available at any time, but really leading us based on experience. We had never been through this type of change at Heinz, and to have a strong team that had been through this with other colleges really helped us be more successful. And they kind of let us know what's around the corner, so it helped us be better prepared as we move forward. So I highly recommend really building a strong consultant relationship. Also, you've got to encourage student participation and feedback. We've got to get people involved. And you might have to give them a backpack or a cookie or something to get that participation, but it's worth it in the end, because once you get them talking, then you can learn all about what things happen, why we're doing what we're doing, and why we have questions, what those questions are, and what people really are talking about as we're moving forward with change. So you want to be sure that you're offering those opportunities, but also I think it's very important to be mindful of the fact that you have to be open to what they're saying. You know, it's not always good all the time, but you have to be open to it and realize if that's what your stakeholders are saying, then obviously that's a concern, so we need to address it so that we can move forward. You've got to definitely encourage questions from the users, ask questions. You want to be sure that you've got a feedback loop that helps everybody move forward and act on concerns as quickly as possible. You've got to be sure that you have those brainstorming sessions to develop ideas. If you kind of are seeing a pattern, then schedule a meeting, have a little session, just like we can do in our tech nest, involve the leaders in those areas to help you get student input so that you can really come up with the best ideas from the people that are going to actually be the users. This really can help you know exactly where you need to focus things. It helps you, especially with developing that communication and training plan. I will say without AVAP, we would have been lost with that, because we've had to make adjustments as we go, but knowing that there's someone out there that has the template to help you drop in what is going to work best for you definitely makes a huge difference. And I will say on that, developing that plan, as we were going forward with platform, we started everything, kind of kicked it all off. And then in March of 2020, as we had kind of completed our training plan, we had spring break and never came back for a long time, it seemed like. So obviously the training plan quickly changed. If it had not been for our AVAP consultants, I would have definitely been lost at that point. But we immediately had to move everything virtually and make the changes in the plan. So you've got to leave that little bit of wiggle room so that you can be flexible enough to make changes as needed. Hopefully we'll never have that change again, but having a plan in place and being able to just flip the switch to a different format really helped a lot. So I have a question for you. So you can answer this one. This question is, using one word, what ideas do you have to engage students at your institution?
One word. Well, while everybody's coming up with their word, I think a word I heard a couple times from you, Gay, was food. So I don't think we pointed out that you had some beautiful pictures of cookies in there that you handmade. And so it was a wonderful skill, a yummy skill that we enjoyed. But I'm looking forward to our participants. Just put in the Q&A any of your one word ideas on how you can engage students at your institution, some ideas that you may not have even tried yet. Definitely treats, seeing communication, that's a good one. We heard from Heinz that they were doing some different ways on TV screens and e-newsletters and going out into the quad, what is working for you. So any other from our participants, any other ideas that maybe we haven't brought up that's either working well, or maybe we've sparked some ideas for you to work on, pop-up workshops would be a great idea. I love that. It's part of more of meeting students where they are, right? The students as the stakeholders. And I would say for a student project, it's probably also meeting faculty where they are, meeting the advisors where they are. So pop-up workshops would be great.
Absolutely. And Analia, one thing that we heard a lot was that we needed to be where the students were, not just sending out a video through their insider for them to watch, not just relying on our tech nesters or our honors college to spread the word, but for us to be face-to-face with the students. Mm-hmm. That was one thing that they wanted, was to hear it straight from us. And part of that was getting your leadership team involved. and getting them to go out and spread the message as well.
Absolutely. We've certainly found that having the leadership team engaged is so critical to success. I'm seeing ideas coming in for evening events and virtual engagement environments and polls and parties. I love the idea of a catchy theme. That's one that I know Heinz has been talking about. We've gotten close with some themes, but like you saw our sprinkle in the fun ice cream party, that was fun. And there may be more of those themed events. I'm seeing an idea for digital badges. That's a great idea. Things that students can post on their LinkedIn. I wanted to follow up as more ideas come in, Gay. What you said about meeting students where they are, that's really about connecting. You know, we're talking about this technical thing and supporting this transformation of the technology and the experience, but it's really about the connection with the students, right? That's where you started, on this connection with the student as the stakeholder.
Absolutely. And, you know, the best place to meet them is where they are. So, you know, fortunately we have a courtyard and on a lot of our campuses, but we also have just different little gathering places. So, you know, being in those places, and a key thing is to get teams that really are involved with students. I know that our student rec team has really supported whatever we want to do. They are out, you know, would do anything, and they're with them. They see them, so they help us get support because they know who leaders are that people will listen to.
That's wonderful. And one of the events that I know that you all have leveraged to provide some information has been your convocation and other kind of institution-wide gathering events. So those can also be great opportunities to share information and tell both the institution community and the student community how things are going, what's upcoming, in addition to all of the wonderful avenues that you all are taking advantage of. There may be some other ideas that come in. We'll give you the opportunity to ask questions. So be thinking about your questions. We'll take those in Q&A in just a moment. I know we want to try to wrap up and give you some ending themes to end on. So Elena, if you would take us forward, I'll let Gay bring that forward so we can take some questions.
Okay, so when we, you know, kind of to wrap it up just a little bit, some key takeaways are to, one, consider students as part of the change management strategy. Whatever the change is, whoever the key players are, whoever it's going to affect, they truly need to be involved in order to get the support from your targeted stakeholders. And you really want to incorporate their voices into the deployment process. Like Analia said, with convocation, we have we have them in August and we have them in January. And with any of these implementations, we want to be sure we're using people to stand up in front of everybody and share the success stories that are out there. So as we plan for our August convocation, we know that we're going to be using some students to talk about Workday Student, talk about the changes, how it's going to benefit students, and also include some of our faculty members so that they can also talk about the positives of moving forward with Workday Student. So you really, really have to use your students and just your key stakeholders as you move forward with change. So if you would like to, we would love to hear from you, hear questions. So you can post those in the chat or in the Q&A, and we'll be glad to take those questions.
Yes, and we are glad to have Timnisha Johnson with us. She was the project manager for the Heinz team during their implementation of Workday for HCM, payroll and financials, and continues with us supporting the student project. So we appreciate her being with us to give us that different view of the experience. We have a question, a comment. Whenever vehicle is used, it must exist in the environment of sincere curiosity. So why don't we talk a little bit about how you weigh how people are curious about what's going on versus the keeping the project team and what they're doing maybe a little behind the scenes. That's also part of change leadership, right? So Elena and Gay, why don't you talk a little bit about your processes there?
Well, I think one thing is that we welcome curiosity. Of course, that sincere is the key word there. We want people to be interested in what's going on. So we truly do welcome that. But we've had to make sure that we have the right people responding to, I guess, to that curiosity and, giving the right answers. We don't want that people's questions to fall into a group where someone doesn't support what we're doing. So we know that no matter what we're doing, we really have to build that positive side of change so that people can see we are moving forward. We are ahead of our competition and our other colleges, and we have better access for what students need. So I think, part of that is that when you're building your plan is to really think about who you're going to use to share the message and be very sure that it's somebody that's going to do it in a positive way.
Yeah, and I believe that sincerity is important, right? It's not that we're giving people lip service. We're not just doing this because it's a checkbox on our list of things to do. That we really are interested and want people's feedback. And the more that we portray that, it's critically important for us to portray that, because that will encourage people to provide that input. But then that other part of that statement, that sense of security, is also very important. People need to feel that they're not going to have repercussions for saying things that might not be positive, or that they are able to really speak their mind, and that they know that those their concerns and considerations will be a part of whatever actions we do take.
So I think that that's a great point, Elena. And you and Gay have both talked about finding the positive people, of course, recognizing you want to manage that message and respond accordingly. We had a question come in. How do you identify we've talked about the transformers, the change agent network people. How do we identify who maybe should serve on that team?
Well, we did a couple of things with it here. One, when we did platform, we sent out a poll or a questionnaire to the executive leadership team and asked them who were the people on their teams that would best support change. So that's how we got basically our, I guess, starter team out there. When we went to the student side, we kind of did the same thing, but we targeted groups that we knew would work together with us, because that was the easiest way to do it. But we have kind of found what happens is when we do that, then all of a sudden, one of those student leaders is like, hey, look, my buddy that's not in this group, is not in honors, is not in connection. They are supporting this, and they're on top of it, and they're real good with technology. Hey, we're sold, we'll take them on and include them in what we're doing, because those are students that probably are not doing anything else really, with any of the groups that we target that support what we're doing, but they are the ones that are out there in the dorm, staying around with kids at night or whatever. So we really like to we'll take just about anybody that's going to be supportive of what we're doing and can share that knowledge with others.
One of the things that was really important, as we heard in the beginning of this presentation, Heinz is a very diverse institution. And so that covers so much ground, including age and experience and everything. So it was very important for us to look to include that diversity in this change agent network, that we have those voices, very diverse set of voices in our change agent or transformer network. So as Gay was saying, where, you know, we went to those specific groups to get that initial group of people. We then could expand that by having them help us identify other people and identify other areas that we could then look to recruit other people for our change agent network.
Thank you. So Gay, I know that you talked a little bit about how you were using some remote communication methods and your Canvas learning management system course to provide some information, especially as institutions are very much still in a hybrid, some are even more online environment. As you move forward in the student project, how are you going to continue engaging students who aren't on campus? When you can't give them your cookie and look them in the eye, how are you going to engage them and keep them informed and involved in this process?
Well, I think part of our plan is to, encourage participation in the Canvas course that we'll create. We also have added some new change managers that are really more involved with the students. So we know that we want to engage them in some of the communication. So as we move forward, we're going to utilize our new additions as part of communicating with our faculty that will definitely help engage our students more, even if it's just if they're on a Canvas course or if they're face-to-face classroom. So we're so thrilled to have Julie Clark, who is our director of our Center for Teaching and Learning, who is going to be working with us and helping us create other methods out there, videos, anything that we can do, and really adding parts of our change to online courses that students have to take. So we're really looking at expanding some of that communication and are thrilled to have her working with us on that.
Thank you, Gay. And we look forward to seeing what new creative ideas as we get closer to that registration day for you with Workday. We look forward to how you continue to spread the word and engage students and help them know what to expect and how to move forward. So we look forward with you understanding what that's going to look like for you. Any final thoughts that you would offer to some institutions? As we saw from the poll, we have some who are sort of in the middle of the transformation with you and some who haven't even started, and they're just on this webinar to try to figure out what they need to do. If you had to boil it down into your top three, and I'm totally putting you on the spot, I apologize, you can get me later, but if you had to boil it down to your top three things, if you do nothing else, where to start, what would you say to them?
I think one is that as the change manager for the college, one thing is to be involved, to participate in as many meetings, and gosh, there's a ton of meetings, but to truly stay involved in the meetings as much as possible and really hear what's going on. That helps. So one would be to actually be involved. You've got to, you've got to live it and breathe it and support it all the time. Because you can bet if at any time you're having one of those days where you think this is awful, I can't believe we're doing this, somebody's going to hear it and that's going to run it for you. So you've got to live it and really truly believe in what you're doing. That's one. Two is to maintain open lines of communication with your stakeholders, with your leadership team. Be sure that you're open to whatever they're saying. And one thing is, I think that we've learned that we don't ever really say no. We can't do that. Use your consultant team to bounce it off of them, because I can assure you, if you've come up with some way out there thing that's like, wait a minute, can we not do this in one step instead of three? If you share that information with your consultants, I can assure you they get somebody on it and they work through it, and then they'll set it up and let you practice it. So really use, share those ideas. You never know which one is going to be the one idea that no one else has ever shared that really works. So keep those lines of communication open. And then I guess the third thing is, the best thing I can think of is to buckle up and enjoy the ride. Because if you don't go with change, you're going to get left behind. And you want to really create that environment, make it a fun trip, because that's what it's all about.
I love that. Maybe that's the quote of our webinar, buckle up or you'll get left behind. That is wonderful. Thank you so much. We will turn it over to Abby as we finalize our time together. We thank you very much for your time with us.
Thank you all for that great presentation on establishing a culture of change for student system transformation. I certainly learned a lot and appreciated all of the content and the answers to the questions. We really appreciate you joining us today. If you have any questions or if you'd like to get in touch about student system transformation, please send us an email at info@avap.com and we'll get a conversation started. Thank you again. And there's a brief survey I would really appreciate if you filled out. It's very short. And let us know what you'd like to hear about for future webinar topics. Thanks again.
Thank you.